Oftentimes when people hear about domestic violence, they recommend the victim just get out of the situation, but most of the time it's just not that easy.
Sometimes it's next to impossible, especially when an abuser becomes obsessed with his or her victim. Tonight on Till Death Do Us Part, Jeanette Trompeter addresses the issue of stalking, a crime that leaves its victims terrorized. Jeanette?
Well, not all domestic violence situations center around stalking, but some of them do. So we want to cover this crime in our series because there are not a lot of new laws coming out there that affect this problem.
22-year-old actress Rebecca Schaefer was killed by a man who had harassed her and made threats against her life. The case led the California legislature to pass the first anti-stalking law in 1990. Since then, 47 other states have adopted similar laws to deal with a problem experts say is getting worse.
We're seeing more stalking cases, certainly with the celebrities, with the sports personalities, the political personalities. Within the area of domestic violence, I think we're defining a problem.
One of the biggest challenges with the new stalking law is proving it has been violated. Prosecutors must show the defendant has repeatedly followed and harassed the victim, has made a credible threat to cause great bodily harm or death to the victim or the victim's immediate family. And they must show the accused stalker aimed to put the victim in reasonable fear of death or injury.
And of course the defense can often argue that it was a joke or that they didn't mean it and that it was taken wrong. And so when you get into specific intent issues in criminal law, you're having to prove a mental state of the defendant, which is a difficult thing to do.
Normal clinical predictors that psychiatrists have used in predicting violence as to this particular type of illness, this type of disease or defect, the personality, obsessive-compulsive type personality, have to be thrown out. You have to redefine it.
John Wilson has prosecuted more than 300 stalking cases in Los Angeles. He works with his counterparts in smaller communities to educate them on the personality profiles of stalkers. He puts them in one of three categories. Erotomaniacs are the minority. They falsely believe the victim is in love with them. 43% of stalkers are generally strangers to the victim who use their harassment as a means to make the victim aware of their presence. Most are ex-spouses, ex-lovers, or co-workers. Such was the case with San Luis Obispo County's first stalking conviction.
After the abuse, I got a restraining order and a kick-out order to get him out of the house, and then he just continually followed me everywhere.
This victim, we'll call her Jenny, was stalked by her ex-husband, who threatened her life and those who were close to her.
He had phone numbers, and he had names, and he had addresses of my friends, my family, and he told me the first person I told, they would be killed. And he explained how he would do it and what he was going to do. The same with me.
He was convicted of felony stalking and sentenced in 1992 to 3 years in prison. He'll be out next month.
To warehouse those people without the psychiatric counseling is doing no good. All we are doing is warehousing, and we're going to cut them back in the street, and they're going to continue the conduct, but they're going to continue it at a greater pace.
Wilson believes a great percentage of stalkers can have their delusional bubble burst with one court appearance, but estimates another 10% need long-term psychiatric care, and another 10% will never overcome their obsessive-compulsive disorder. And because stalkers are often highly intelligent, highly manipulative people, it can be hard to keep them behind bars. Though legislators seem to be working to give the law more power, the stalking crime, like many of the domestic violence crimes, is what you call a wobbler, meaning it can be either a felony or a misdemeanor. In more cases, it will be the latter and will qualify as a felony only if there was a temporary restraining order or an injunction in effect, or if the person suffered a second conviction within 7 years of a prior conviction of stalking the same victim. Though celebrity cases may have brought stalking to the attention of the public and lawmakers, domestic violence situations will still make up the majority of stalking cases, and experts say victims should use no measure of tolerance when they are being threatened, followed, or harassed.
You cannot tolerate that type of situation. You must act now. And I don't care what anybody tells you, you're at 100% danger, and your life is at risk.
If you think you might be being stalked but aren't sure if it qualifies legally for stalking charges, here are some tips for your safety and perhaps the filing of criminal charges. A camera might be your best weapon. Stalkers don't want to be photographed, so carry one. And if you're being followed, take a picture or video and collect any witness statements. Enlist the support from your family, friends, and neighbors to keep an eye out. If you can afford it, get a car phone. These can be lifesavers in an emergency situation. Call police immediately every time the stalker shows up, and if you qualify, get a restraining order. Don't wait, and if you're a victim of domestic violence, there is no charge to get one. For civil restraining orders, there is a charge, but that will be eliminated for stalking cases after the first of the year. And all week long, we've been putting up numbers. I hope that people who need help or want help will call them, and if you don't know the number, give me a call at the station, and I'll put you in the right direction.
All right, Jeanette, thanks so much. It's been a good report.
Sure. Thank you.